guys, it's John McNamara, host, Running Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys like what you see today, please subscribe, like, follow us on Running Vegas Podcast on Instagram. And today, we got a special guest. Mr. Chris, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Owner, Colombo Property Inspections in the house today, Chris Moscato.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. So tell us about you, where you're from, what's your story?
I'm a native of the state, born in Ely, Nevada. Small mining town, very small. Raised in Reno. And got into construction right out of high school. So started to build my foundation with that career and got into HVAC and pushed it then, eventually moved out, went to music school and college and all that, and then moved to Vegas. And one of my real estate agents, when we bought our first place here, she said, wow, with all your experience, you should be an inspector.
Wow.
And I was doing HVAC here at that time as a foreman, and I went through the school, and the rest is history.
That's great.
Yeah,
okay.
Pushed into the industry, and it's I've never looked back.
Excellent. So when did you move to Las Vegas?
I moved here in 2003 from Los Angeles.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a big move.
Yeah, spent 4 years there.
Very usual thing. California's moving, even though you're born and raised Nevadan, but not unusual. So 2003.
Yep.
So you got to see, you've been the local for over 20 years.
Yes.
So you got to see a lot of Vegas, because 2003, 2007, the market was on it was going up, got fired 2007, and then it collapsed. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the market coming up to that 2007 downfall, I still remember properties that we had put offers in when they had bidding and lines of people, 1,500 people in line taking tickets because the properties were going up so fast they couldn't keep up with the demand. So you were getting a draw, okay, this is your number. And about the spring of 2007, we could see the change starting to happen. Things just started to drop off. The numbers of people in the line started to drop off. And then no sooner did that happen, about the end of summer, that August, September, everything started to fall fast. And it collapsed by the 1st of 2008. It had pretty much collapsed.
Well, I'm getting some flashbacks here, because I was the smart guy. In 2005, I got into real estate. I sold in New York, and I was smart. So I moved to Vegas when this was all collapsing. I was completely ignorant to how bad it was. I remember even my broker, she's like, yeah, we're depreciating 3% a month, and we had 36,000 homes for sale. Well, I don't know what that freaking meant.
And that's exactly how it was, too. Yeah.
It was a crazy time. I was doing like 40 short sales at a time. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, making no money. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, because I know 2008 through 2011, it was rough.
Yeah, a lot of investors came in when they saw the market collapse. Like you said, 36,000 houses hit the market. A lot of big investors were coming in from around the world. A lot of stuff from New York, Canada, Australia, obviously China. A lot of people were coming in because houses had dropped down to, I had a property that I had to let go. We're at $17 a foot.
Oh my God.
It sold for at auction.
Oh my God.
$17 a foot. And it picked up for me because all the investors were coming in, all the houses were hitting the market, so they were buying in bulk.
Yep.
So I would get calls from investor groups. They would send their representatives over, and they would say, hey, we just picked up 8 or 10 houses. We need these inspected in the next week. And my business just lit on fire from December of 2007 all the way up until currently now. It just hasn't stopped.
Yeah, that's one thing I always thought was interesting in real estate, right? Because there's no such thing as a bad market. There's always opportunities. And I remember Not that I was making a lot of money in those times because the prices were so low, but I was still selling a lot of real estate.
Yep.
I remember thinking, like, if this is the worst of the worst, because unfortunately, when I got here in 2008, I was licensed in 2009. I had missed the opportunities to get, work with the banks, investors. I really
Yep.
just had, I didn't have those established relationships. I was starting from scratch. But it was a lot of tough conversations, just like you said, right? Like a lot of tough conversations where people are 300, 500, 700,000 upside down on their homes. And I can't give necessarily, I'm not a financial advisor, but I had to have those tough conversations because we knew like the market, it was going to probably take a decade. And there were some people that held on their homes, but it was that tough conversation to be like, you should probably short sell.
Yeah.
Take your bumps and then buy in about 2 years. So
Yeah, it was tough. I ended up in total, we lost 5 in total.
oh God, okay.
So 4 rentals and a primary. So,
Oh,
and you just had to take your licks, but eventually the market did come back. Because if you had money at that time, you were picking up properties at
yeah.
17, 20, 30, 60 bucks a foot.
Wow.
If you could hang on another year or two, which I ended up doing later down the road, picking up a nice property.
Great.
2,400 square foot for 140,000.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time, but business was really good, and a lot of people, like you said, lost homes, and it was just better to let them go. They were so far upside down.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you, because to lose five homes, that must have been really tough on your mindset. How did you deal with that? And obviously, you picked yourself up. You have a very successful inspection company. You've picked up some properties over the years. How'd you deal with that?
After fighting with the banks and all that, it actually became a relief. It was frustrating, obviously, to lose the investments because we had picked the properties up for so cheap. But they had lost so much so fast, and reading the market, we never thought we would get anything back. So it was just easier to have them just, all right, take it back.
Yeah.
I was going through a separation at the time, so it was like, okay, if you want them, take them.
Okay.
And,
So it's kind of like a new start for you in a lot of
yeah,
ways.
so it was a new start for me. Wiped it clean. I knew I could continue. Business was doing really well, and I knew eventually I would get back into that field again of buying, getting rentals, because it's Vegas.
Yeah.
This city never stops. This real estate never stops, because I've seen the market bad here in the 80s as well.
Yeah.
Growing up in Reno, I've seen the markets fluctuate here
Yeah.
since I could even recognize real estate. So it always bounces back here. That's just Vegas.
Yeah.
It's just Vegas.
Well, it could be, I know for myself and a lot of like clients and friends I had that were going through it, was a big hit to the ego for most of us. And then you kind of realize, when you're talking to most people, like everybody else was going through it, we were all losing at something.
8 out of 10 people, I think was the average, was going through a short sale or a default at that time.
Yeah, and then obviously financially, if you're stressed too, it affects relationships. It was a tough time. I remember going through it. So, but I appreciate you giving insight on that. So, and kind of being vulnerable a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about home inspections.
Yes.
You've been doing this for a while. You're super successful at it. I've gone to home inspections with you. One thing I really appreciate with you is you're great with clients. You take the time to explain everything, and you're very personable, which is nice as well. Sometimes with home inspections, I can get some really analytical, and there's not a right or wrong way to do it, but I can get some really analytical inspectors, and sometimes they can scare people, because if you don't really convey this in a way, because a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I try to preface my clients all the time, like, I promise you, I've sold over 700 homes in my career. I've never seen an inspection report with nothing on it. There'll be a minimum 15, 20 things. I don't care if it's new construction. So you do a really good job of conveying, and explaining things so they feel comfortable.
Yeah. Delivery is very important.
Yeah.
Because you can have somebody describe an issue in a bathroom in a way that's, okay, this is what it is. It's a very simple fix, or have somebody come in and overdo it. and freak people out when it's really not that serious. So delivery as an inspector is very, very important.
Yeah.
And explaining, hey, this is a maintenance item. This is a light handyman job. This can be done very easily. This is not that bad. I don't really like to get into the noting of contractors or anybody in that engineering area unless it's absolutely necessary. Because most handymen and licensed handyman can get it taken care of pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know, the houses are pretty clean here in Vegas. They're not like they've been along the East Coast and stuff. We don't have a lot of wood rot, natural disasters, and things like that.
Yeah.
Just delivery is just very important to make sure everybody is comfortable and let them know, hey, it's not as bad as it looks. There might be 20 or 30 items on the report, but they're not all that bad.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point, because 90% of the homes in Vegas are like 20, 25 years or younger. I grew up in New York, and I grew up in a house that was built in 1911.
yes,
And I-
great example.
And I was selling homes for 3.5 years in New York. I mean, that were 50, 75, 100 years old. So to me, like the houses out here are great. Like some of them are just standard condition, but that's a really good point. Like it's not like these massive thing. We live in good weather. You know, we live in the desert, so summer can be a little rough, but we don't have moisture, you know.
No natural disasters here outside of the heat.
Yeah. Yeah, just stay out of the sun during the summer, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I've tried to do that over my career, is just be very gentle with people. Because I've seen houses that have caved in. I've been to houses that have caved in Pahrump, Sandy Valley, and I've seen houses that have burnt all the way down to a slab only with just stub out sticking out of the ground.
Oh my God.
Or gutted completely, and everything can be rebuilt. Even the houses that I saw out in Pahrump and stuff that had actually caved in, they went out, refilled it. They brought the engineers out. They pumped concrete underneath there, leveled everything out, and rebuilt the house. You would never know it had ever collapsed.
Wow.
So, you know, I just try to be very gentle on delivery and not overstate things if it's not necessary.
That's a good way to do it, because I think 9 times out of 10, a lot of buyers, when they see a list of like 15, 20 things, which is probably a typical inspection report, 10 to 20, right, give or take,
right in
which
there.
is normal, and your job is to find things. So I think a lot of them, when they see that, they go, this is like 10, 20 grand of work. Most people don't have an understanding of, when you look at the list, I usually, when I look at a list, I'm like, 90% of this is like just handyman stuff, maybe a couple things here and there, you know. So yeah, it's good that you take the time to explain that, because fortunately people don't buy and sell homes every single day or month. They do it every 4 to 5, maybe 10 years. So it's a good way to do it.
And it helps the transactions go better. Everybody is put at ease, because there are some inspectors that sometimes will throw egos out there and you know, and
For sure.
overstate things that don't need to be overstated.
Well, they lack professionalism. I can't tell you how many times where it's just like, just be a professional at the end of the day. So you do a really good job of that. You greet somebody, you have positive energy, you have good energy. So that's one thing I really appreciate about you.
Thank you.
So is there anything like major red flags? Like you go in a house and something that somebody should really consider that you would stay away from? Like if it comes up, not that it sounds like it comes up too much in Vegas, but
yeah, like if you're going to walk into a house, as you know, you're bringing a buyer in for a first-time look on a property, and I know everybody's excited, especially when you're looking at a house, and people's eyes tend to just not pay attention to little things. I always tell them, look for water staining, check your door jambs, check your baseboards, look at the house, but really look at the house. Open up the cabinets, check underneath water areas, sinks, bathroom sinks, kitchen sinks, and just glance around, and that kind of gives you an indication of how the house has possibly been taken care of. Just by walking around. If you don't see any water stains, any heavy damage, it's usually the house has been cared for a little better, or people pay more attention to the home that they live in and get some, pride of ownership. And then just walk around the house and just see general condition of walls. Just look at the landscaping, see how the outside's taken care of, and that'll give you a really good indication of how the house has been taken care of.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point because it's really easy to fall in love with a house. But yeah, when those things start adding up, there might be something, it's if you get an idea of a house is kind of taking, if there's pride in ownership or not. Because I know myself, when I purchase properties, if there's pride in ownership, I want that house even more because I know it probably was taken care
Yes.
of. Not that you're guaranteed that, but I agree with you on that. So.
And some people will look past a lot of the cosmetic stuff, which I try to tell them, you can always picture it with new flooring, new paint.
Yep.
And if it's the house you like, if you don't see anything that throws up any red flags to you as a buyer, and you go, I can handle this, I can handle that. I mean, push forward to it, but just always keep your eyes open when you walk in and looking for water damage or anything out of place, holes and things like that.
Yeah, that's good advice. I do think like most buyer, I mean, like 9 out of 10 of them, they kind of want the house so you can just walk in, don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I will say this though, the savviest buyers, which is maybe 1 out of 10 people, they look at that, know they can get a good deal on it, and then they just fix it all up, put the stuff that they want in it if they have the cash, right?
Yes.
So don't be scared of those things. If you have a good realtor or a contractor or a great inspector can explain these things to you, you can actually get a better deal and then make the house the way you want it to, end up being. So there's not a right or wrong way to do it, know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how about for like the first, because I know myself, like if somebody's bought a house 4 or 5 times, it tends to go a little bit smoother. They're used to home inspections. I know I enjoy first-time home buyers because they're excited. You tend to need to explain things a little bit more to them. But how about you as an inspector? Because that's usually the big thing for first-time home buyers, and they get that inspection report. Do you treat them a little bit different, or do you give, if you know they're a first-time homeowner, do you give them like specific advice when you meet them? I'm just kind of curious on that.
I do. I can get that feeling of the first-time home buyer. They're obviously nervous, and they're a young couple. So I do approach it with a more attention of, let me go through the house, and I'll give you my honest opinion of what I think of the home. I'm not going to misguide you anyway, and I'll do a walkthrough with you and say, hey, this is important, this isn't, this is maintenance, this is light. So yeah, I want to make them feel comfortable and at ease with everything on the property and assure them that everything can be repaired. It just comes down to negotiation and talking between the two parties.
Yeah.
And just, if you like the house, these are the few items, this is normal wear and tear. Every house has a little bit of problems.
Yep.
Nobody,
Yes.
even my property, my house that I live in, it's not perfect.
Yep, mine either.
New homes that I do 6 to 8 a month. They're brand new, and a lot of people, hey, it's a brand new house. Yes, but there's still things that get missed.
Yeah.
But it can all be fixed.
Yeah.
It's
At least they have the home warranty for maybe a year, right?
Yes.
So, yes, great point. If you're out there and you bought new construction, still have an inspection, I can't tell you how many times where 15, 20 things are just missing. It's worth the payment for sure. So, great point.
Yes, I do recommend new homes, pre-drywall and finals
Okay.
to be done.
That's good information.
Give us a chance to document the house prior to drywall going up. I photograph everything in the house, all the framing, every room, all the plumbing, the roof, and just give the client a full document showing their house prior to ever having drywall put in. And we also look for defects in the production because they're being built a little quicker.
They are.
So some companies do things a little shady, so we'll go in and recommend having them corrected, and then we'll do a final and go through and make sure they're getting what they're paying for.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point because you've got to keep in mind they're cranking these houses out, right? They're on a timeline. Their job is get it done as quickly, as efficiently as possible. So there's always going to be stuff missed. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's good.
And go ahead. And the finished work, on occasion, gets a rush a little more than like framing and things like that. You'll get a really beautiful house, design, everything's great, and the finished work sometimes is
I agree with you.
a little bit below standard.
Yeah, I typically, like new construction, I'll do the final walkthrough with my clients because a lot of times they don't have I just recommend this to agents, do a final walkthrough new construction because you'll see a lot of, here on the nose, a lot of stuff that's just missing. And they'll do that touch up. It's not a big deal. It's a very normalized thing. So
Yeah.
good point.
And, yeah, I offer that service of doing the blue tape marking for the client. So
awesome.
if they can't be present or they want me to do it just because I know I did new construction right out of high school, so I was on 7 job sites. I ran crews, so I know how it works.
Okay.
So I say, hey, here's the option. I can give you the blue tape walkthrough, and I will mark everything for you because they're
great.
excited. They want to see their new home. The superintendents are there to walk through with them, and they kind of distract them a bit.
Yeah.
And, hey, look at this. This is a faucet. And I go through with a whole different intention.
I like that. That's worth every penny.
So I go through, and I'm looking for things that aren't painted, poor install, broken frames. I walk the roofs. I'm there to make sure that house is perfect prior to closing.
Excellent. Okay,
So-
great. Well, we got one new construction too. I got to tell you about after this pod.
Okay.
So how about technology? How has that changed over the years?
It's had a big change.
Okay.
So when I started in '05, we were handwriting inspections. So we used to order binders, and they would have all the sections in there. So we would have to sit there and walk around the house and write them. Every little item, hall bath, tub handle, loose, dripping, on every description. And then at the end of the inspection report, we would have to tear out all the carbon copies, put it in a separate folder, click it over, and give it to the buyer.
Oh, wow.
And it became a lot, just even with storage.
Yeah.
So, you're doing 500 inspections a year. You're storing binders and copies of all this stuff.
Wow.
And then HomeGauge came out. So when HomeGauge came out with the digital reports, it was a whole game changer.
Oh, I bet.
So everything was already there. It's just take pictures, check the boxes. You can build your own software, and it just made it go like that. And it gives a better product to the client.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, we hadn't incorporated photos in '05 and '06.
Oh.
So everything was just written.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell how many times I have to read something 3 times, but if I can see it visually and then
Yes.
and read it, I have an idea, which is good. And one thing I like about the inspection reports now is typically like yours, you do a good job. It's like it lists like the things that should be fixed or repaired, like right in the beginning, so you know exactly. So you don't have to go through this whole like report because you check everything. So there's over 100 items. So it's just good to be like, okay, what are the things that we really need to have attention to? Because it could take you a day to read that inspection report.
Absolutely. And it has made the process faster. It's giving the clients a better product, and it's more thorough.
Right.
Because they have such a huge list in each room of everything we check off and inspect, and we can photograph everything to help protect the buyers and protect us and the buyer's agents as well. Because back in the downfall of the market, a lot of houses, I would do an inspection one day, take pictures of everything, and document it, and get a call the next day, and the air conditioner's gone, or the wiring was tore out, or the kitchen was vandalized because the house had been sitting for 5 months, and they broke in and vandalized the house, and at least we had documentation to show the condition. So that technology has really given the industry a huge boost.
Yeah, that's great. Do you see anything in the horizon? Because I know AI is starting to change our industry a little bit. Are you seeing anything on the horizon with AI that's going to help you with?
I haven't seen a lot with the AI stuff. HomeGauge hasn't jumped that far into that side yet.
Okay.
It's still pretty basic. The video part of it has gotten better, of people recording, doing video and things. That's probably advanced. But AI hasn't jumped into that particular area, not that I have seen.
Okay.
And I've been with HomeGauge since '06.
Oh, okay.
So, and other tools that have helped advance, like thermal imaging, wasn't a big thing in '06, '07, '08. and it's definitely changed
Yeah.
the industry with thermal imaging, and the cameras are getting better and better and better.
That's great.
Which helps everybody out because you can see more and do more with them.
Yeah, kind of puts people at ease, right? Because you see that water stain, and most people freak out about that.
Yeah.
Was it really an issue, or was it something now it's gone away? It's a big difference, right?
Yeah,
So-
detecting water leaks underneath slabs and stuff, which has helped out. You know, you can feel the floor's warm, but you don't know exactly where it's at. So you can pull out a thermal imaging camera and literally pinpoint
That's great.
where it's at, put a mark on the floor, take a picture, even measure it out. Locating insulation spots that are where it's missing. Thermal imaging has helped with that because not all builders do 100%, and it's tough to crawl back into the back of a attic
Right.
where there's no room. So you can thermal image ceilings and stuff and see where there's hot and cold spots depending on the weather.
Oh,
And say,
okay.
hey, it looks thin here. This looks thin. This looks thin.
Okay.
So it's been a great advancement for the inspection industry.
Excellent. Okay. And then I know before we started the pod too, you were kind of saying after the first or the new year, you've seen like a little bit of shift in the market, or?
Definitely have.
Okay.
Yeah. Coming to the end of last year, it had a lot of people were holding their breath.
Yeah.
Presidential election year, and a lot of investors and people I talked to, everybody just kind of held their breath until after that. And then after the first of the year, the business has we're probably up 45%
Oh, that's great to hear.
from this time last year.
That's great. Good to hear
So
it. You heard it from this source, because I think people hear me all the time, but
Yeah.
and I think a lot of too, like people, like you said, their election kind of started early this year because there was, Biden, they had the debate, and then Biden left, Trump got shot in the ear. So everybody just kind of put things on hold starting in July. You
Yes.
know, so I think a lot of those Q3, Q4 buyers got pushed to this quarter, and I think we're seeing more positive signs with real estate. We're seeing positive signs that interest rates are most likely coming down. So there's a little bit light out under at the end of the tunnel. You know,
Yes.
so
That's what we're hoping. Yeah, and I see people that are doing that. There's like, we got a better interest rate. We've locked in lower.
Yeah.
Now we can afford it. That
Yeah.
that lower point and a half
Yeah.
has taken that $300 or $500 off of my mortgage, which I can handle that now.
yeah.
So
And buyers out there too, a lot of new construction. Let us know there's a lot of new construction opportunity where they're giving you really good interest rates. So,
yes,
as you're saying with these new constructions.
yeah.
So besides real estate, I got a little bit more time with you here.
Okay.
I heard you play the drums.
I have. I've been a drummer for 40 years.
Wow.
So I've been a rock drummer and toured
Yeah.
and had hair all the way down to my butt.
Oh, that's cool.
Went through music college for 4 years and played with some famous people here and there, and
Wow.
yeah, it's been quite a career.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That must have been a fun time.
Yes, it was an eye opener going to LA at that time.
Oh, I bet.
98, 99 up to 2003.
Oh, yeah.
was-
That must have been a fun time.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Really
Cool.
enjoyed it. We did. We had a fun band. We had a Guns N' Roses tribute band when they were separated.
Oh,
And so we got to do that for a long time. Got rated one of the top cover bands in the country, and did
That's
a lot
great.
of touring, and it was fun.
that is fun.
I miss it, but
I'm jealous. I always
Yeah.
wanted to be a rock star, but I had no musical talent.
everybody can learn.
Yeah, not this guy. So
Yeah.
besides playing the drums, anything else you do fun?
A huge avid athlete. I play golf.
Oh, cool.
Golf, pickleball, tennis, razor rides, ride dirt bikes all over the valley, and
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's great.
Anything outdoors, hunt, fish, love guns. Growing up with them my whole life out here, especially with the hunting and stuff out here, and
That's
Nevada's great for all of that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being on. You really offered some amazing information to buyers out there. If you guys are looking for a great home inspector, Chris Moscato, he is your man. And guys, we're going to wrap this up. This is Run in Vegas, and take care of yourselves today.